My eyes
Okay,
look
so
open. I look stoned.
yeah. Anyways, we're live now, so
Always
just
like
be
that.
careful with what you're saying. Okay, so let me post this online. If you guys want to go ahead and jumpstart this while I share the links.
Okay. Well, howdy, folks. Another edition of our roundtable. And as you can see, we're short a couple of members today. We've got some illnesses and some accidents going on, and not necessarily in that order.
The
But-
things
Not
don't
necessarily in that order.
But a few of us made it. And then we also had technical difficulties. One of our channels that we normally use to communicate before these things just completely went down. And so probably some of you have already noticed that Discord is kaput. I'm not sure what's up there, but today we're going to talk about how hacking, cracking, and cyber hijacking, how is that having an effect on blockchain and cryptocurrency as a whole, and of it becoming mainstream used. And, guys, this is something that I've touched on quite a bit on the website, the security issues of exchanges, the issues with wallets, the issues with newbies not taking care of their information. And that's the stuff that hits the news is, when somebody goes in and they make a mistake and they lose their wallet, that hits the news. And they go, oh, well, somebody lost $119,000 worth of Ether. Well, then people are going, well, why the hell am I going to put my $119,000 in something that I can lose like that? If it's in the bank, I can't lose it. And so that, and that's not even the hacking aspect of it. That's just people losing stuff. And when you start looking at, we knock on wood, haven't had one lately, but when these exchanges get hit and millions of dollars goes missing, even though the exchanges are getting better at working together and stopping this stuff and getting some of it back to the rightful people, until we stop seeing that stuff, because blockchain is supposed to be, the immutable defense. And until we stop seeing that kind of stuff, we are going to have a hard time of it becoming more mainstream, because the everyday user isn't going to want to invest or have their daily money possibly taken over because somebody made a mistake.
Okay, so I've got a couple questions here for you guys. So number one, is cybersecurity or just security overall the principal reason why we're still not seeing mainstream adoption for crypto? Yes or no?
Oh.
Would you say it's one of the main reasons?
Yeah, it's one of, for sure.
What about you, Meredith? What do you think? Is security still a main concern? So say that you go out to the middle of the street and you ask 10 people, are you comfortable with keeping your wealth in the form of crypto?
Mm-hmm.
Would you think most people would say yes or no?
I think people are, ever since the internet came out, and people have lost their accounts maybe from even back then, I think that security has kind of been on the back of their mind. So it's not going to be the first thing that they think about, because it's almost like a knee-jerk thing. It's a natural thing that we expect. We expect security when we're going into these things, especially when it comes to our information and especially our money. I would think so. I do.
100%. Now, let me ask you guys something. How is crypto not safe? Why do people get hacked? How do people lose their wealth in the form of crypto? When we're talking about crypto, how are people losing their money or their wealth or anything?
Have you guys ever been hacked?
Okay.
Or scammed?
Exactly. Okay, so you kind of just answered my question, right? They either get hacked or they get scammed. They get phished.
I went through both. I was hacked and I was scammed.
Did you learn from your experience of being hacked?
Well,
or scammed?
The hacking was through a vulnerability and my own stupidity. Okay, because I've been on the internet since the 90s when it first came out. right? So I had a certain amount of comfortability about not changing my passwords or making them very secure, very long. And, a lot of my accounts had the same passwords. So what happened was I'm thinking, hey, I'm a nobody, right? But all of a sudden I start talking about blockchain and stuff on my social media. Now I'm a target. And my email account was hacked. And through my email account, especially through Google, saving my passwords, once they got into my email, they got into my passwords, and then the race was on to secure all of my accounts. So the lesson learned there was I was quick enough and I had enough notifications that I was able to chase it down and stop a lot of it before it really became expensive. So they didn't get into my bank account, but they did get into a couple of the exchanges. Thankfully, I had 2FA. That's important, okay, because that stopped them. But, when they're changing your email, when they're in your email account and they can change your password now everything that was associated to your password is gone. Unless you can get your email back. And I had a Proton mail account, and that was, I didn't have access to it because they were asking very specific questions that were almost impossible. So PayPal, whatever I had in there, gone. So it was an expensive lesson, but now I leave no passwords on the computer. I have a
okay. Let me ask you something here real quick. When you lost crypto because you got hacked or because your email got hacked or something, what mistake did you make that cost you to lose all of your crypto?
The biggest mistake was not having the notifications and the extra security. So 2FA is definitely important because if they try it enough times, it'll lock, and then you'll have time.
So I think that there's an even bigger mistake than that, which was leaving your crypto in an exchange. To me, that was the first mistake.
There is, with the exchanges. But again, there were only a couple of the smaller ones that I didn't have 2FA associated with, like the bigger ones like Bittrex and Binance, I had 2FA. The other ones I didn't use very often, but I had a little bit of crypto. So those were taken. Things like, I'm active on Steemit. My Steemit account was hacked, and they did a power down, and they stole a bunch of Steem. Luckily, I was basically in Discord, and I told the entire community, I'm like, shut them down. I'm like, give them down votes, take away any funds that they can that they're trying to do through my account. And then because I am active in those communities, I was able to contact, what is it? Who is it? The one that will exchange your crypto, like your Steem for Bitcoin and stuff like that. Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. But I was able to contact them. I emailed everybody and I said, that's not me. And they're like, well, how do we know it's not you? This is supposed to be anonymous, right? And I said, all you have to do is look at the body of my entire work to know that that's not me. And they were like, oh yeah, okay. And I was actually able to retrieve a lot of my stuff. Now I lost crypto. And again, it's about securing your passwords. Keep whatever you can off the internet. Have it on a flash drive.
Exactly. So the underlying. So I guess my question is, how do we make sure that? I mean, even if you leave your crypto in an exchange, which to me is a mistake. That's like leaving your gold with, and with someone else. It's like, why would you rely on someone else to take care of your wealth? Like that's not something that I would support.
I am not a very good trader. I mean, I try, and I make a little bit of profit here and there. I am not good. I'm not patient. So I'm pretty much all or nothing when I'm on the exchanges. So for me, it's a lot easier to just leave the funds on the exchange and go, okay, I'm here. I have my funds available, instead of going, okay, I have to wait until I transfer it. I have to get it out of the cold wallet. I have to do this and that. I have to wait for the block times to
But of course, when you're so what you're essentially saying is that because you're lazy, you just don't take it out of the exchange.
Yes, lazy
Okay.
and stupid. That is the big
Gotcha.
issue.
Gotcha. I mean, it's good to start being honest here. So it's laziness is place of fact, and I'll agree with you 100%. I mean, come on, even we're doing it right now with the CTN wallet. Like I'll just rather keep it in Coinbase just because I don't want to keep switching back and forth between wallets and exchanges. I 100% agree. But that moment or that process where I'm being lazy might just cost me my wealth. Yeah, just because Coinbase might get hacked or Coinbase might close down sometime.
You're not going to change your behavior until you get burnt. I'm telling you,
exactly.
People are lazy, and they're not stupid people. All right, a lot of these people are very smart people, but it's lazy, and they're not going to change the direction until something bad happens.
And that's the whole underlying thing. I mean, going back to Tony's original question of what causes blockchain or cryptocurrencies to be vulnerable, and it's mistakes. It's mistakes, whether it's by the end user or by the exchange or somebody that works for them. It's always mistakes. It's not that the exchange itself generally is vulnerable. It's that somebody screws up and lets them, in a different way. Brute force attacks against the blockchain just aren't going to work, but brute force attacks against individual users is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think so. Okay. So going back to my very first original question here. Is security still the main concern given that, okay, so, I mean, I think we can make the assumption that cryptocurrency is probably the safest way of storing wealth. It's probably even safer than keeping cash in your house. I mean, the probability of losing crypto if you're keeping it in a hardware wallet is extremely low. You're most likely going to lose your wealth if you keep gold underneath your bed or something.
Yeah.
It's very hard I mean, I don't even understand how someone could possibly lose their crypto if they have it in a hardware wallet, in a Trezor or a Ledger or something. I don't see how that's possible. So if we make that assumption, and I'll ask you guys this question again. Is safety still the main reason why crypto is still not, mainstreaming across, people?
I don't think it's the main reason. I think the uncertainty of, is it going to be here next year because of regulation?
Mm-hmm.
To the general user, not to us. We know it's going to be here next year, but to the general mom and pop and people outside, they're still uncertain about it. It's still not. They're not walking into their grocery store and they're seeing a sign that says we accept Bitcoin. It's still American Express, Discover, and MasterCard, what have you. And so that's what I think the main drawback is just the fear of regulation and the overall that it's not feasible for you to walk in anywhere and use it. And until
Gotcha. So I 100% agree with you. Now, if we go back to security and safetyness, what would you guys tell someone that's afraid of being hacked, or someone that doesn't make the jump into buying Bitcoin because they're scared that they're going to be hacked or something? What would you respond back?
Research. There's a lot. I mean, we've got articles on the website telling you how to be safe, and as long as you make those safe practices of keeping your wallet offline and doing cold storage and following those best practices, not that what was it 5 years ago when they started saying using the alphanumeric passwords because people were still using admin or God or whatever, and people slowly started doing that. I ain't got to. I'll never be no one's ever going to come after me, and then you find out your Facebook got hacked. My late wife, after she died, somebody hacked her account just so they could send out spam. And, it's just, you're always a target, and people have to understand that. And And so if they follow those rules, then they're going to be safe.
Yeah. It's be smart and, maybe be a step above lazy. Seriously, I have everything on a spreadsheet that is on a flash drive, and it's unplugged whenever I don't need it. So that, and it's the same thing with your private keys. Everybody should have a paper copy, put it on a flash drive or two. I wrote about it before, have a legacy plan. Because who was the one who lost like millions of dollars?
You'll be impressed how much crypto has been lost by people who have unfortunately passed away, and that they haven't just explained or left instructions on how to actually, get that Bitcoin or get that Ether or something.
And that's all part of the security. And the thing is, it's like, okay, you know what? People go into crypto, maybe they go into a faucet and things like that. And it says clearly on a lot of the faucets, that this is just for play, this, don't take it seriously, blah, blah, blah. You could lose your funds, whatever the disclaimer is, right? But, there are people who actually believe it. I have been more and more of a believer in crypto and its advances in what it can do to take us to the next level of money, right? So I want to keep that secure. I mean, that's something like, I have a goal. I want to be a Bitcoin millionaire. It's like, oh, how crazy is that? Like, okay, well, how much do I have to have in Bitcoin in order to do that, to make that, to have enough zeros and stuff, and retire maybe. But, the thing is, it's a security thing that we all know how to be secure. I think we're just too lazy to practice the best practices in order to keep ourselves secure, because we have this false sense of security a lot of times, where I made that mistake where I said, who am I? I'm nobody. Why would anybody want to pay attention to me? And you know what? If you get enough small accounts, if you hack enough small accounts, you've stolen a huge amount and sitting on a big nest egg,
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same thing that I was saying a minute ago, that, if you are just Jane Doe, you think that you're not a target. And when we implemented the alphanumeric, making sure it's 9, admittedly, I was slow at doing that. I got attacked. Same thing with 2-factor. When it first came out, I was working for Apple at the time. I hated it. I screamed about it. People would call in pissed off because they accidentally turned it on. And I just couldn't stand 2-factor. Oh, this will never go anywhere. Nobody's ever. Now it's everywhere.
It's not. Well, now it's even getting worse in a sense, because it's even harder. I mean, now you got the Google verification codes that expire in like 10 seconds. And if you don't copy it and, copy it and like right away, it's like a race. I was actually gonna bring Google how's it called? It's the Google Authenticator or something.
Yeah.
It's Authenticator. And the exchanges are even becoming so safe. And I'm not saying be lazy and keep your wealth in the exchange, but they're becoming more and more safe, to the point where you can't even withdraw anything if you don't have 2FA enabled. And I actually opened up an account in an exchange not too long ago, and they wouldn't actually allow me to withdraw anything if I didn't actually activate Google Authenticator. I mean, it's getting so safe to that point. It's not even just about having someone hacking your email. If they need to not just hack your email, but they also need to be in control of your phone somehow. So
I honestly don't like that, because the genesis of crypto was to have that anonymity and keep government out of our pocketbooks. And with these exchanges now having all of these regulations and the KYC, AML stuff, and they want to why? Because the government wants a piece of the pie. So,
okay, well,
so they're going to send you all of this messaging out about the security and things like that, and for your funds and all, and that's all well and good, because there are some exchanges who they have been hacked and they were good about returning the funds. As
Binance,
you know,
I mean,
was it Binance? I think it was Binance. I don't think it was Coinbase.
I think it was
But
Binance, yeah.
But I want to bring up. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
One thing I want to bring up here, another thing that very well could be keeping some of the higher end people that got more money from investing is that the freaking IRS considers crypto to be a freaking, what is it?
Capital.
Huh?
It's capital.
Yeah, capital. And in order, if you do big money, the taxes on this thing can get crazy. And because they're considering it like property, and because it's a tradable asset. And that was one thing that it admittedly kept me from it, because I got other tax crap, and and so that's one thing that kept me from going into it a lot.
So here's the thing. If the only way, and we got to be realistic here, I mean, we can't expect to live in a taxless utopian country. I mean, that's never going to happen. So the only way, I mean, the way I see it is, if we want crypto to go mainstream, and we all start using crypto in one way or another, we have to be, say that, for example, I mean, we get paid in Bitcoin. We got to pay taxes on our salary, right? How are we going to pay taxes if the government doesn't have access to the exact amount of money that we're actually making? I mean, it's kind of like, you know what I mean? It's, I think right now we hate the fact that, they're making us pay taxes on capital gains on crypto, but I think
what happens if the market crashes? And right now it's
you can report it as a loss.
Yeah, but that takes a whole generation of accountants that need to be familiar with crypto and how it works, and
So to my understanding, I'm not an accountant, and I'm not a financial advisor or a tax advisor or anything, but when you make money in stocks, if you buy an Apple stock for $100 and it goes up to $200, you got to pay taxes on those capital gains, right? If you buy an Apple stock for $100 and it goes down to zero, you can just report those $100 as a loss, and the same applies to crypto.
And that's the thing, is that there's not that definitive regulations on this is step by step of what you have to do. It's still up in the air. And so Jane Doe and John Doe aren't sure, how do I go about reporting this? And your local agent at H&R Block, they have no freaking idea about and the reports. And, a lot of people, got into crypto because of the anonymity and the ability to take money that they've already earned and paid taxes on, and investing that into something that they can readily share that money that they've already paid taxes on with somebody across another border, sending it back home, what have you, investing it in hopes of making a profit. And yes, I do understand that Uncle Sam deserves his part of those profits, but that to me should be up to the individual to report, not having the government's damn eye over every freaking penny that I'm making off of the money I've already hard earned, that I'm working my butt off 60 hours a week for, that I'm watching the market for. And, they're not watching their taxes. Well, yeah, I guess the stocks, they do sort of, depending on which exchange you use, but it's a whole big mess. And
so I think that I mean, I doubt the IRS watches every Bitcoin transaction. I mean, unless you're moving a whole lot of Bitcoin or crypto in general, I doubt they're going to come knocking on your door if you don't declare your capital gains on crypto. I mean, again, we're not financial advisors or anything. Do your taxes, do them right. ask proper people.
Right,
Don't come blaming us for
if you're squirreling away enough Bitcoin that you're under the radar, and you're putting it into a hard wallet that can't be tracked, right? But here's the thing, and this kind of speaks to the myth of anonymity. If they can eventually figure out that the wallet belongs to you, because all of those transactions are on the blockchain, so they can come after you if they can tie the address to you. So even those little transactions, which also speaks to safety again, where if you are making those transactions and you're aware of that, all right, don't take the lazy way out, request a new address.
And it's not too hard to trace back addresses back to people. It's particularly if they're buying in an exchange where they've completed KYC. You know what's funny is that it's becoming more and more hard to buy crypto without doing a KYC process. I think actually Binance actually allows you to buy crypto using a debit card without actually having an account with a fully completed KYC process.
Tony, with you being in Spain, you had to do KYC for Coinbase Pro, didn't you?
Well, I was using my American account, so
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I don't even know if Coinbase is actually allowed or working here in Spain, or if it serves. I sent it only US based for US based people. I'm not sure. I know Binance, works. Actually, Binance actually doesn't work with US customers.
They do with certain states.
Or it depends on the states or something. It gets crazy, and it all comes down to KYC, right? I mean, if they're okay with KYC or non-KYC, or they've got regulation is just such a mess that it's just very hard for some of these exchanges to actually operate properly or safely, mainly because they need to comply with so many different rules that it's just. So in conclusion, I think that be safe. If you want anonymity, there's still ways to be anonymous and keep your crypto safe. Just don't leave it on an exchange where you don't have 2FA or Google Authenticator enabled, and just play it smart.
Exactly. And just in conclusion and as a wrap, like we said, most of the hacking, cracking, cyber-hijacking, that's all due to simple mistakes, the mass majority of it. And it can be prevented. As long as more and more users utilize those safe steps, then we're going to stop seeing these incidents appearing in the news. And once that happens, then it's not an illusion of security, folks. The security is there. It's just just like Meredith said, you have to be smart.
Just get one of these. It's so. They're not cheap. I mean, how much is it? Like $70 or so. But it's the safest you can get. It's safer than a bank. It's safer than anything. Just put your wealth in there and you're done. You don't have to worry about anything. Even if you lose this, as long as you have the secret key, you can just.
Yeah, I mean, for me,
memorize your secret key. Write it down on a piece of paper. Keep it nice and safe. Yeah, I mean, there's Keep Key. There's Ledger, Trezor, and they're all great.
I've got a Nano Ledger S too. There it is. So
diversify and win. Yeah,
diversify and like I said,
conquer. Or
I think maybe another conversation would be to see how these hard wallets work, because I have a couple of these hard wallets, and it's not that my funds are on them. My keys are. My funds are still on the blockchain. So that's how the peer-to-peer stuff works. But anyway, I would close with saying, hey, if you are at all interested in crypto or blockchain technology and you're on social media and you're talking about it, guess what? You're a target. You are somebody to somebody else, and they want your stuff, So I'm going to say you are, no matter how small you think you are or irrelevant, you are still a target.
the smaller you are, the bigger of a target you are, because you're probably not going to look as smart.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, and yeah, I think that was a good way of wrapping it up. Unless you guys have any other comments.
Well, I'm good.
All right, it was a nice chit chat. Probably, what day is it? Next Wednesday, the 27th.
Yeah, are we trying for another one? Are we doing like a fireside chat?
I thought we were going to do our live ones on opposite weeks. And so we would be meeting live to discuss anything that is it newsworthy next week. And then
let's talk about this internally.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, let's discuss this later. I think I'm actually going to be traveling next week, so I might leave it up to you guys. Anyways, thank you guys. Thank you, Meredith. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, visitors. This will go out on CTN probably either today or tomorrow, sometime soon. See you guys soon. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.